Good morning, everyone. I trust and hope that you are safe and sound in your home and warm because today we decided to just be virtual because of all the snow everywhere. And now that we meet in the countryside in Brookside, New Jersey, at Brookside Community Church on Sundays at 11, it just felt safer to just be home. Those of you who want to join me afterwards at 11:30 with just a Zoom to share, you're welcome to come and just let me know that you want to join us if you have not received the email at Dr. Frankie, Dr. Frankie, i.e., at cslmorristown.org. So, good morning. We are exploring the theme this year of living everyday wonder. Everyday wonder is all around us, right? And for January, one more day, it is Living Everyday Wonder. And today, my topic is walking the talk, as we're going to explore this idea of moving more deeply from theory to practice, from thinking to being, from intellectualizing to experiencing. And that seems harder in the metaphysical sciences than it does in the physical sciences, doesn't it? So we're going to just make deeper commitments to living our faith, to living in trust. So my name is Frankie Timmers, and I'm the spiritual director at Center for Spiritual Living Morristown, now meeting in Brookside, New Jersey. Beautiful, historic Brookside, New Jersey. And please, if you're new, welcome, but check us out on our website. There's lots of information there, cslmorristown.org. There's also an opportunity to support the beautiful work that we are doing. There's something I call sacred exchange instead of just giving, receiving. It's really that deeper understanding that the law of circulation is always happening. And so if you like to give and support us, we welcome that. My favorite way is just text to give, and I just text the number 973-834-6840. Easy breezy. And so we celebrate this wonderful interaction on Facebook. So say hello, do a greeting, ask questions, make comments, use the bubbles. And we're also on YouTube, and now we're also on Twitter. So let's dive right in with a spiritual mind treatment, which is our word for affirmative prayer or scientific prayer. So if you like, you can close your eyes. I like to, because I like to move from the outer world to the inner, from the realm of effect to the realm of true cause. And so, right here, right now, I open my mind and my heart to the experience at hand, trusting and knowing that I can let go and let the universe have its way with me, that I can open my mind and my heart to experience a greater sense of connection to life itself, to see the beauty of the world through the eyes of truth, which I come into alignment with more and more each day as I explore my beliefs and bring them in alignment with the highest wisdom. So today I'm grateful to explore this idea of walking the talk and to know that there's ever room to expand that idea and live it. So, with awe and gratitude for this and so much more, I let the universal law demonstrate it for me in the highest and best ways. And so it is. Hmm. So, Ernest Holmes, the founder of our Science of Mind philosophy, says that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. We're likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. As a matter of fact, we only know as much as we can prove by actual demonstration. Demonstration is a big word that we like to use in our teaching, so I'll go into that a little bit more deeply. And so the topic today, walking the talk, is kind of fun because imagine if it was the other way around, talking the walk. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't even feel right, right? And so, what it's really saying, walking the talk, is that we get to experience the walking as an action, not here and there, not temporarily, not just a chunk of our lives, but forever. This idea that life is a practice, a living lab, and that we can truly experience it in every moment. And instead of saying, well, when I get there or when I'm perfect, then I'm done. No, no one ever really is done. It's a living experience. And that's between birth and death. At least it is for me. I discovered this teaching a little bit over 40 years ago. And the first six were study, 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 study. And then I have been a spiritual director for 34 or some years. And I continue to study, I continue to learn, I continue to practice. And as some of you might say, I know some people in my world say that I definitely haven't perfected it. Definitely am still flawed. But how beautiful is that? Because our flawedness makes us so unique. And so we talk about in our organization, which is called Centers for Spiritual Living. It doesn't say Center for Spiritual Completing or Center for Spiritual I'm all done now or Center for Spiritual Thinking or Center for Spiritual anything else but living, right? And so we study the science of mind philosophy. How interesting it has the word science in it. Some people call it science of mind and heart, science of mind and spirit, which I love, but I believe our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, combined that mind, heart, spirit. And so we used to be called religious science, which is a term that's been around for a long time. I mean, Jalaluddin Rumi in the 1200s was a professor of religious science. It's putting the idea of science and spirituality together. And that's where we experience quantum mechanics, quantum reality, quantum physics. So because science is this idea of knowledge, gnosis, and that a- applied science is the practice. And so we practice our knowledge and it becomes our life and life experience, our life and living experience. So there's a lot to unpack, right? So let's go. Have you ever heard the expression, the proof is in the pudding? I have, and I've used it. And I learned recently that that's not really how the saying goes. It comes out of 1600 Great Britain and possibly existed even in the 1400s. The saying is the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Don't you love that? The proof of the pudding is in the eating. And pudding wasn't some sweet, yummy dessert, delectable. Pudding was sausage. So the proof of the pudding, the proof of our principles and our teaching is in the living, is the experience that we put into practice. And so we talk about the physical sciences a lot, right? I find it so interesting that today we talk about science as if it's a done deal. No, science is ever evolving. And science is also about proving. And it's interesting that we sometimes only listen to the proof of one thing or one way or one experience instead of listening to the proof in all the different areas until we do enough research to discover the living principle. But in metaphysics, it's a little bit different, right? In metaphysics and in spirituality, the science of mind, science of heart, science of spirit, is much more mystical. It's sometimes more difficult to prove. It's less tangible. It's William Cowper, who was a British poet and a hymn writer, who said lived in the late 1700s, says, "The absence of proof is the proof of absence." And I thought, what? The proof of absence is not the proof. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Let me say that again. The absence of proof is not the proof of absence. The absence of proof is not proof of absence. That's the mystical aspect. That's where the open at the top is. There's many experiences that were proven through science years ago, decades ago, centuries ago that make no sense today, and that will happen in the future as well. So, in our teaching in metaphysics and spirituality, the idea is we prove the principles. And some of the basic principles are that there's only one life, that the oneness of all life is everywhere and everyone, everything, all the time. Another principle that we prove is that love is all there is, not conditional love, not so much human love, but unconditional, infinite love, omnipotent love. And then we talk about universal laws, which is the law of cause and effect. As within, so without. That's another universal law. The way that we apply the universal laws is that we look inside and we say, what do I believe about that? And do I need to explore it a little bit to see if it's in alignment with my highest values, my highest ideas, and possibly the truth, wisdom principles to which I adhere, in this case, the science of mind teaching. If not, then we use spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer or scientific prayer to come back into alignment. And so we start small. I remember very clearly that in the first class I ever took in the Science of Mind teachings many years ago, we were asked to practice very simple things like treating for a parking spot. I was really into that. And the more I treated for a parking spot and demonstrated these spots, even on difficult days in busy parking lots, I began to see a principle working. And I decided to expand that and apply it in other ways, maybe deeper ways, maybe more personal ways. So that's the invitation to those of you who are new to this to apply truth and belief and spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer to these little things and not just fluff them off. For those of you that are new to this or want to explore and experience this a little bit deeper, you are blessed because this week I start a class called Our Spiritual Ancestry. And what we do is we look a little bit deeper at the wisdom upon which this teaching is founded, which is really ancient wisdom. It's been there since the beginning of time, and it's been proven and demonstrated and distilled into this beautiful wisdom that we will explore this week. I'm teaching on Zoom on Tuesday nights or Thursday mornings. Let us know as soon as possible that you'd like to join us. But for me, it's been a lifelong commitment. Yes, the first 6 years were through classes and deep study. But then once I began to teach this and preach it, it became an even deeper study that's a part of my everyday living. And I would say there are always people that say, well, she could do a little better. Isn't that true? Couldn't we all do a little better? But that's where we get to have compassion because we're all a work in progress. I do believe we're doing our best. And so it's about practicing my faith, right? This is what I believe. This is my faith. This is my living faith. And I know it is for you too. For many of you, you have a living faith that is your home base. I love what Dr. Ernest Holmes says. He says these two things that are really important. The first one is he says, I would rather see a student of this science prove its principle than to have him or her repeat all the words of wisdom that have ever been uttered. Have you ever been around people who utter wisdom and truth, but you know they're not practicing it themselves? It doesn't feel very good, does it? You then want to go to those who are practicing and living it. I remember many years ago, I went to a doctor, and the doctor looked so unhealthy. and so obese. And he was actually smoking. That was the time when doctors believed in smoking. Hello, science, right? And I was like, run! Wanted to be with doctors that practiced what they were recommending to me. The other thing Ernest Holmes said was, find me 1,000 people in the world who know what religious science is and use it and live it as it is, and I'll myself live to see a new world, a new heaven, and a new earth here. I know that you and I are part of that 1,000, that there are many more. Can we trust that? And so we learn this everywhere. It is everywhere. It is wisdom of every religion, spiritual teaching, every book that lifts us up talks about this. Since the beginning of time, in the Bible, in Hebrew 11:1, it says, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. We don't just have faith in the proof, we have faith in the practice. And that the practice brings about the proof. Khalil Gibran, one of my favorite poets since I was a teenager, he wrote The Prophet. Remember the beautiful prophet? He says the faith is knowledge within the heart, beyond the reach of proof. It's knowledge of the heart, beyond the reach of proof. So, can we trust that there is a universal presence within us that is greater than we are, that is ever guiding us, ever supporting us, ever loving us, ever showing the way? And can we be peaceful, quiet, and still long enough to feel that, to listen to that, to receive the guidance? And William Blake, another favorite poet, he says, what is now proved was once imagined. I love how we learn in Prosperity Plus by Mary Morrissey that everything is created twice. First an idea, and then the actual thing. This pillow, this couch, this picture behind me of the whirling dervishes. My cousin did that. Isn't it beautiful? There was an idea first, and then it became that through action. And so that inner knowing, that living that inner knowing, trusting that inner knowing, being guided by that inner knowing is everything. Think about what that feels like. Maybe you've never felt it before, but you can go right now into the stillness and listen to the voice of your heart and follow it more than the voice of your mind. That's what Ernest Holmes meant by indulging into practice more than theory. Takes courage, but courage is just heart. And so I know myself that I am strengthened by my growing faith that has no end because it's ever evolving. And so being part of the 1,000 plus, we simply use the principles to the best of our ability. We practice living them to the best of our ability. And little by little, we create heaven on earth. So we're having a Zoom after this. Again, if you want to join, email me at office@cslmorristown.org and I'll send you the link. And we're going to talk about how are you demonstrating? What are you demonstrating? How are you living the principles? Let's talk about that. That's what I was going to do in person today. Now we get to do it on Zoom. And then we ask ourselves, what do I believe? Where is my faith? And how can I heal what's in the way? And healing doesn't mean curing, it just means the revelation of a higher truth. I love the wisdom of Jalaluddin Rumi, the 13th century Persian poet. So I'm going to close with a poem and then do a healing prayer for all of us. It says, I prayed for change, so I changed my mind. I prayed for guidance, and learned to trust myself. I prayed for happiness and realized I am not my ego. I prayed for peace and learned to accept others unconditionally. I prayed for abundance and realized my doubt kept it out. I prayed for wealth and I realized it was my health. I prayed for a miracle and I realized I am the miracle. I prayed for a soulmate and realized I'm the one. I prayed for love and realized it is always knocking, but I have to allow it in. I will post these on our Facebook pages. So let's close with a healing treatment. In this breath, in this moment, I find my faith. I find I can trust my heart, for I know my heart is infinitely connected to the heart of the universe, for there is no separation. The only separation I might experience is in my mind, in my beliefs, and I honor them because they reveal a greater truth that I can embrace and embody and live and explore and experience more deeply. So today I celebrate all of me and all of my life. For all of me and all of my life is a living laboratory of metaphysical science to awaken to the founding principles and practices of our tenets of ancient wisdom, of the distilled truth in all religions, faiths, spiritual practices, and teachings, the simplicity of the oneness of all life, that love is all there is, and that I'm ever awakening and ever evolving by remembering that life is sacred. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for this. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to show up in the Ethernet and not only speak the truth, but hear it, know it, and connect it with others in it. And so blessed I am, blessed we are, grateful I am, grateful we are, and so it is. Thank you so much for joining us. Join me in Zoom soon, or join us in a class that starts this Tuesday, February 1st, in the evening, or February 4th in the morning. Many blessings.